Hello again, everyone. I'm Mike Lowe, and this is episode 3 of season 2 of our Knicks MyNBA, where you play the role of the assistant general manager. And that's exactly where we're picking up this episode, which is where we left off last time, looking at potentially filling the center position with the injury to Mitchell Robinson. Knicks are in good shape. We're in first place, and we're really kind of looking at a couple players here. And you all had some really, really nice comments, and I'm going to read a few of these just from the last video. At some of the different elements that we looked at. By the way, moving forward, if you want to ensure that your comment is read and responded to on these videos, become a member. Go ahead and sign up for a membership. That will automatically bump you into a list of separate comments that I'll be able to see that are directly from those who signed up for that monthly membership. That's awesome. That would be really, really cool. And again, it's kind of like promoting yourself into the official assistant GM role, so to speak, not just for this series, but for future series as well. And that's just super, super appreciated. So again, thanks to those who are doing that. But let's just go ahead and read through a few this week as kind of a preview of how that would work. So for instance, before we even look at this screen and what we're doing here, Vinny Quick said, I would have liked to see you try to sign Pirtle, because I'm almost positive he wouldn't accept the minimum, which should be all you can afford at this point. Well, let's see here. And we're going to go into free agents. We're going to go over to Jakob Pirtle, I should say, who, again, thank you to those who were giving me the correct pronunciation of his name here. And Vinny is absolutely right. When you go to negotiate, it's not going to let us. Number one, I have 15 players, but even when I tested this, we'd only be able to sign this guy for like $1 million or something like that. So we would need to make a trade first to cut salary. So we could still sign him, but it would be a case in which we would need to cut salary first. And, who knows from that point. And yeah, I don't know. I truthfully think we're still better to kind of go the route of a trade. So again, thanks, Vinny, for that. That's super appreciated. And thank you to Brett. I think it's Brett Dykert, who said the name is pronounced Jakob, and then it's like turtle with a P. So Pirtle, Jakob Pirtle. So thank you for that. Robert Davis says the Gafford trade makes the most sense. With Robinson out for the year and Hartenstein not really a starter, who will be a free agent after this year, why not bring in a defensive center that can perform now and will keep the defense going when he comes off the bench for the next 2 seasons behind Robinson? And I tend to agree with that for sure. The deal that he is referring to, just to kind of give you full context, would be... Let's go over to Washington. It would be, I think it's the same one we were looking at. Again, sometimes these change, which I think is kind of cool. But they're open to a couple of different things. But I think the deal that I would want to do is actually this one. Even though we could get Otto Porter, I don't really want that contract around next year. I would rather just take Allen Ryan, who's really nothing. He's just, again, kind of another backup center that we'd have. He can play the power forward. It gives us some size because really Gafford isn't a really big center. So I don't mind having that, but most importantly, it's just it keeps his contract low. He can kind of fill out the bench. And then next year we'd go into really the year with 4 centers on the team. So we'd have to do something there. But I think Allen Ryan would be an easy piece to move. Or we could move Sims, or we could even move Gafford. And then, of course, we'll have Robinson back. So it does kind of give us some depth. And actually, I'm sorry, Allen Ryan's a power forward, so that's going to be just fine. He creates some competition there with the guy that we took in the second round, the 3-point shooter, who I'm drawing a blank on his name. So we could definitely do something like that. But this is kind of the deal that I would look to do, which I think is the one Robert was talking about. And we'll come back to that here in a second. Lots of other comments, but again, just kind of keeping these two sort of the trade options here. I know a lot of you really liked also the deal with, by the way, I tried this, kind of what if we went Bogdanovich and Okongwu, and they're having none of that. And, just even tried like, well, what if we did something with like Murray? And I mean, there's not a lot of wiggle room. The Hawks are the 6th seed right now in the West, right? So it's an interesting thing to do here would be to trade. And there's only one trade that they're interested in. And this is it. There he is, Rudolph Pollard. That's the guy I was saying. So Ryan from the other trade could kind of compete with him for that third power forward spot on the team, which I know is not like a hot commodity, but if we were to move on from Julius Randle, suddenly that becomes the number 2 power forward. So having a little competition there isn't bad. And I would send Patrick Beverley. He was probably the most commented person about from the last episode. A lot of people asking about Patrick Beverley and why is he seen as valuable to me, and I'm overvaluing him. And those are valid points, but I want to just kind of politely to defend why I'm valuing him perhaps differently than some others. So, and the quote this is referring to, by the way, it's from Dylan Tano. He says, yeah, but Bev's earned wins is awfully low. I know he brings defense, but he looks a lot like he is underperforming. And so here's kind of what I'm responding to with that, because he's not wrong per se. No one's wrong here. It's just kind of just a perspective thing, right? So we're looking at advanced stats, all shooting guards, and let's just sort first by game score. Now, certainly there's going to be an argument here. Both of our kind of 1 and 2 shooting guards aren't going to be very high. They're right around kind of the end of like the starters and whatnot. So again, they're not even in the top 30. Of course, there's 30 teams in the NBA, so they're technically both, below where you'd want to see. By the way, there's Bogdanovich, 8.5. I know some people asking about him, so slight upgrade there as far as game score. And you can see that our rookie is pretty much in line with Beverley. Pretty similar stuff going on there. But really what I'm looking at here too are some stats over here. So of course, estimated wins added, which is what Dylan was talking about, seemingly low. And yeah, there's a huge argument that Cason Wallace off the bench is basically, 4 times more estimated win average. But the usage is also much, much lower with Beverley, even though he's a starter, right? And so that's an interesting thing because he's coming off the bench, but he's getting used more. And again, that's not just minutes, right? That's literally the kind of like usage in the offense is my understanding of it. So yeah, as it says up there, is personally responsible for ending a possession when they are on the floor. So, he is a much bigger part of the offense, I guess you could say, Cason Wallace, and that makes sense to leading to estimated wins. I don't know how estimated wins kind of works with defense in the NBA. Truthfully, I don't know the exact equation. Like I know I'm pretty familiar with how it works in baseball for like wins above replacement, but I'm not positive here. However, the point being is that I think there's a little bit more to it because why is Beverley here? Why is he starting? He's here for his defense. Why he's starting, I don't exactly know. That's really up to Thibodeau, but he's starting. And the fact is, we've gone from the worst defense in the NBA to the number 1 defense in the NBA. And I'm not ready to mess with that. Patrick Beverley, I still believe, is a big part of that. He is, of course, a very, very good defender. He's starting, which means he's going up against the other team's best shooting guard most nights, maybe a point guard, that kind of thing. And he is shutting them down, or at least in theory, collectively, he's shown to be doing that. Now, does that maybe show up exactly here in the estimated wins added? I'm not sure. But the point is that he is holding his own. Let me show you a couple of other things here, because I think when we sort by, say, usage, right? If we go down to kind of his usage, and again, I understand this isn't just like minutes played, but you kind of look at like his impact on a game. Patrick Beverley is here. And so if we just kind of look around the players that are used the same amount, right, as far as like, their role on the offense, no one's even close to him. I mean, negative 2.7. Some of these scores are just really, really bad, right? There's Evan Fournier, by the way, and so who's gotten very, very limited playing time just with injuries. But he is, and again, I know this doesn't look like a lot, but you think percentages, this is much, much, much higher, right? And some of these players are pretty bad. But again, I still feel he holds value here. When we look at, again, estimated wins, right? And that puts him for shooting guards. We had him at, again, just 0.8. But there is more to this story. So again, here's Beverley, 0.8. By the way, if I scroll down here, look who's below him. Bogdanovich, who a lot of people have said that's a no-brainer. You should make that move Beverley. I disagree. And that's why, right? He's being used more. He's adding less. And of course, he makes more money. He's a far less defender. And that doesn't make any sense to me, right? So again, just kind of responding to that question there. But that's a really big reason why, as much as I probably do like the center from the Hawks more than Gafford, but they're only willing to do that trade because they're a team in the playoff mix, probably, if we include Beverley. And I don't see that as making a ton of sense for us, the number 1 seed, where Beverley, it's hard to argue he hasn't played a role in helping. moving him to kind of band-aid something else. It's just doesn't really, it's kind of like just transferring one problem elsewhere, right? I have listened to you all, and I've added Hartenstein to the trade block because I think, like, yeah, I mean, it just makes sense, right? We're going to have some options there at center next year. And with Gafford's under contract, right? And so we look at his contract. Now, again, you might say, well, that's a lot of money for a backup. Maybe, but I don't really think so, especially at backup center. The guy's going to play quite a bit. Your center is, one of the first positions to come off the court, often injured, as we've seen. I mean, they're just bigger guys, right? They take kind of the harder falls and whatnot. Endurance is a little bit different with the big guys. So I'm okay paying that for a backup who can still contribute, who's still at a pretty good age there. And what we see here with Okongwu is his contract's up. And so, of course, we could let him walk. But then, I mean, geez, we don't really get anything for that. I'm really worried about what he's going to cost to resign. I don't think it's going to be RJ Barrett money or anything like that. He's not going to make 30, 40 million a year. But I do worry it could be much more than what Gafford is already under contract for. So I think it makes sense financially. Again, I like Okongwu. I like that he can play the power forward. I think he's actually a better fit for what I'm looking. He's a better rebounder. He's a better post defender. But at the end of the day, I just think it's going to make more sense to go and get Gafford, who, by the way, even though he's not as good of a post defender, he's put up better statistics. And again, I get it. He's a second-round pick by the Bulls a few years ago, where you have Okongwu, who was the 6th pick just a few years ago. Like, he's a bigger name, right? But there's more to that. Now, again, we're looking at career stats. And so 12 and 8, I'm sorry, really 13 and 9 or so. You can look at his career numbers. They've obviously been a lot better more recently versus Okongwu are lower. Now, you can say, well, that's not fair. Let's go to 36 minutes. Okay, so 12 and 11. He's averaging kind of 12 and 10 for his career. Let's go look at the 36 here. So 12 and 10 turns to 15 and 10 for his career. Gafford, again, seems to be doing more. Look at these game scores the last few years from him. Above 10. Wins, estimated win averages, because I know we're talking about that a lot. 5 and 7.5. Let's look at Okongwu. Again, not bad, but certainly lower game scores. And certainly lower estimated win average. So again, I get that he's the bigger name. He's 23. It's just probably the sexier trade. But I think going for Gafford makes sense. And really, I'll give some credit here to the game engine. I think both trades make sense for both teams. So if we look at kind of why would the Hawks want to do this even as a 6 seed? Well, because they picked Kel'el Ware, I think is how you say his name. 19-year-old. He's doing okay, right? He's had a okay kind of rookie year so far. And I think, maybe they're just looking to get him into the mix more to help him develop. He's the only other center on the team. So, again, that kind of leaves a little left to be desired. But whatever. We don't know their exact plans. And it makes sense that maybe they want to move on from that contract because they're probably not going to want to pay him the big bucks either, with Ware already in the mix. Washington, again, it leaves them a little thin at center, but they're a bad team. Like they're like the 12th seed in the East right now. They're not looking like they're going to make the playoffs. And so if they can just kind of move some bodies, so be it. We can go in and take that center from them. That frees up some cap space. They're getting expiring contracts from us, and it makes sense. Again, we're also getting Allen Ryan in that deal, who right now is just going to be kind of a guy who can also play center, though. And again, I like that size, 6'11", and so he'll come in and maybe be able to do some different things here. He's a really, really good rebounder. So again, I like, especially when you're a bench guy, I like seeing A pluses in here, even if it's just 1 or 2 tools. Give me a specialty instead of just being a B- across the board that doesn't really move the needle at all. I don't mind bringing in Allen Ryan. I certainly like bringing in more than an Otto Porter, who is the better player, but it's just not really a need that even depth. It's just not really something we need. And maybe if Porter had just 1 year left in his contract or something like that, he doesn't make a ton. So it's still an option there. But I think for me, I would just rather go with Ryan, especially as we start talking about possibly moving on from Randall, maybe after this year or something like that. So I think that's going to be the deal here. Let's take a look and see what the Wizards think of this deal now. So there is the deal we were just talking about, and this is going to make a lot of sense. I think this is a really good move for us now, and I think it's a really good move for us in the future. So to me, it's a pretty no-brainer move. I don't think they give us any sort of feedback per se, but it does say it's an illegal trade here. So they are over the cap they would acquire more than they can. So a trade exception is available to make up the difference. So this trade requires a trade exception, add exception automatically, and continue. I don't even know exactly what that is, but I guess maybe is it something, and you guys can help me with this, but maybe like you're allowed one of these per year or something like that, with the trade deadline being just like less than 2 weeks away. I mean, I guess that's fine. Yeah, so we're just going to make that exception and we're going to complete the trade. So let's go now and see. We can actually remove him now off of our list because we don't need both. Let's go see what coach is thinking of this deal and how the team's gonna look here. So Gafford slides into the starting center role. No surprise there. Now our bench looks like this: Highland, Thompson, and Wallace. I really like that 6, 7, 8. I mean, that's just deep. Ryan actually gets the 9th spot. I'm kind of shocked by that. I was hoping it would free up Jericho Sims, but either way, these guys are right there. And we still have coming back Randall. So really, I like that depth there. I think this is a good team, guys. I really think this is a team that can make some noise if we stay healthy in the playoffs. We're going to get Randall back soon. And yeah, I think it's looking pretty good. I'm really surprised to see Ryan in the mix, but I'll take it. We're scoring enough points and whatnot, and I think if we can get some help rebounding, which is his specialty, that could definitely help us. Well, wouldn't you know it, right on cue, we simulated one game so far since the trade against the Trailblazers. We won. I haven't even seen the score yet. We haven't yet another injury. Luckily, it's a very short 1 to 2 week injury here to Obi Toppin. But let's go in and just kind of see how we're going to look. And I guess maybe it's good we added a power forward for now. So Ryan has now slotted into the starting role at power forward for the next week or two. This is a player who was the second pick in the second round of this year's draft. So he is technically the first rookie on our team to actually make the starting lineup. Pretty crazy. So we're looking pretty smart for making this deal now. So Ryan and Gafford in the starting lineup. 6, 7, and 8 are the same players we saw. Sims now, of course, moves up to 9 to take that last spot. And we're pretty thin after that, so we really need to get Randall and or Toppin back soon here. But let's take a look and see how that box score looked here from this game, the very first game after the Gafford trade. So Barrett goes off, 36 points, 10 rebounds. Murray 25 points, just the 4 assists. Thompson 18, Toppin 14 before he got hurt there. Gafford 12 and 12. So again, really kind of lining up with what we saw. I don't think we saw many of those games from Hartenstein, for instance. So that worked out, and 4 of 9. So it wasn't like he was super, we didn't have to overuse him or anything like that. Even 4 or 5 from the free throw line, which is nice. Highland chips in with a double-double. Wallace not really doing much, but grabs 4 rebounds there, makes us a couple of free throws. So not too bad. Ryan gets in the game. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong player. Yeah, so that was Wallace. Ryan got 3 rebounds, really playing pretty sparingly, but 3 steals too. So again, really nice job. Led the team in steals, and you'd imagine limited minutes for him. So if we look there real quick, Lillard, or Damian Lillard, the 36 points, led the team easily. I mean, he's kind of the only thing they really got going right now. Let's see, team comparison. I like to look at the number of shots taken, 93 to 88. So that's good to see that we're up in the 90s. 3-pointers a little bit low, but not too bad for us. Free throws, we got to the line a lot and we made the free throws. So again, that made a difference here for sure. Let's see, second chance points. That's a pretty big number. It means we're getting some more rebounds there. So that could be really helpful. Huge assist numbers, 39 assists on the game. We out-rebounded them on both sides of the court. And yeah, 5 blocks to their 0, and had a 30-point lead at one point. So definitely a nice win there. The next game up's an interesting one because it's the first game against Denver since the Jamal Murray trade. So maybe we can jump into that game and just see how things are looking here with a bit of a dinged up Knicks team. Then of course we'll be moving further along to the trade deadline. Nuggets, by the way, not a bad team themselves. 25 and 19. That's good for 3rd in the West. 5-6-8 winning percentage there. And again, just the latest on the Knicks, still the number 1 team by 2.5 games, 33 and 8 so far. As we go head-to-head here in Denver against the Nuggets. And a really quick correction, we did already play the Nuggets on November 19th. We won 127 to 123. So just to clarify that, this is the one and only time we'll be going to Denver. Second time we're playing the Nuggets. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into that game here on January 20th.
Is called first of the game for the Nuggets.
Well, we're not even 3 minutes into this game, and wow, it's been fun to watch Gafford so far. He's gotten 2 offensive rebounds that's led to 5 points, and he just had a huge block as well. So pretty cool. Let's see if we can just kind of see a couple of those just in the box score here. If we go down to Gafford, you might see a couple of those highlights that are generated. Again, such a cool feature of this game. So offensive rebound there. You're not going to probably see the one that he kicked out to Barrett for a 3-pointer. But he's already making his presence known here, which has been really cool to see. It just wasn't seeing that stuff from Hartenstein. So really liking this trade early on so far, as we've already kind of forced the Nuggets into an early timeout here in the first quarter. Some Patrick Beverley stats, since we were talking about him.
Here's Brunson. He has 5 over Thompson. Brunson, no good.
They have been board dominant in this game. That's definitely been a factor in crafting this huge lead.
But it's been good on a number of levels.
Lets it go from 11. Barrett, no good. To the left side wing. Wide open look here for Murray. And that one off the back of the rim and in.
You know what? I always talk about closing out possessions, and they've done a great job on the boards. It's really helped control the flow of this game.
Refreshing to watch a team commit to crashing the glass. And that's all for us. Now it's time to send it back to Kevin Harlan for the beginning of the third quarter.
About 5 minutes left here in the fourth quarter. Knicks leading by 10, but had bigger leads for sure. Denver's been hanging around, and it's been a pretty closely contested game. We can just go ahead and look real quick at a few just kind of stat lines and whatnot. Again, a lot of familiar names switching teams here on the first day of the season, or I guess last day of the offseason. Quickly now with the Nuggets leads their team with 20 points, of course. Nikola Jokic, 16 points, 8 rebounds. And so again, they've spread out their scoring pretty well here. RJ Barrett's just gone off, 11 of 15 for 31 points. He's 3 for 3 from the 3-point line. Murray with 16, Thompson with 16, Gafford 13 and 12. Highland with 11 points off the bench. Again, it's pretty spreading it around, other than really it being the RJ Barrett show. But Gafford might be our second best player today, 6 of 9 from the field. So again, selective shooting there, which is good. And Thompson really having a nice day as well, coming off the bench this time. So let's watch the last few minutes here, and we'll just kind of see how this game unfolds. But it seems like every time I stream some of these games, or I watch the live games, we have trouble pulling them out. So I'm curious to see if the team can hold on here.
Sideline reporter David Aldridge. David.
Hey guys, well, Mike Malone talked to his team during that last time out. He was begging them to step it up. He said, we've got to make the move now, or we're going to be out of time and out of luck. Give it everything you've got out there. Kevin?
Thanks, David.
Definitely not expecting any heroics here from the Nuggets. I would expect to get out of here with the win, but you never know. 10-point lead again, about 5 minutes to go.
Here's Gordon. Here's Brunson. Wow, drew the contact, and that 3 almost went in, so he'll go to the line for 3 free throws.
I'm going to hear about that from all you Beverly haters. Speaking of former Knicks, Jalen Brunson there.
That one falls for Brunson.
And even though they're down, they are putting on a show at the free throw line.
Yeah, they're making the most of their opportunities at the stripe, and they'll need to keep it up to take the lead.
He's done a much better job of getting to the line.
Gets all 3.
Aggressively taking it inside and not shying away from contact. I thought he was settling a bit in the first.
Time call here. The Knicks decide to talk it over. The short rest, very important, and one of the benefits of this part of the game is getting on the same page with your team, while having the chance to hydrate with Gatorade. Replenish your energy for the late game push. Here's Highland.
By the way, I did release the first version of the slider set. They're posted up on Operation Sports if you want to see them. They're exactly what's being used here in this game. They, in my opinion, work really well I shouldn't say head-to-head, but human versus CPU, or like we're doing here, CPU versus CPU. I haven't actually tried them head to head, but
They could use more from him.
if anyone does, let me know. And again, if you have questions, comments, please
Now, here's quickly.
please definitely let me know. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, let me do that as well, and that'll notify me and give you a big shout out and thanks for that. It's been a lot of fun so far. We're gonna probably in this episode still really kind of get through the remainder of the regular season here, assuming things gonna go smoothly and we stay at the top. Oof, there's RJ Barrett taking over. Staying at the top of the Eastern Conference there. Might have some playoff episodes, plural, right? So we got to leave some space for that.
Yeah, and that's 4 straight field goals now they've allowed.
Look at Gafford, man, just shutting it down.
Passes it to Highland.
Ooh, nice take. Oh, look at Ryan though. There we go.
And the Knicks lead by 11.
How frustrating.
A+ rebounding.
You get the stop, but then fail to block out.
Well, you know, that's
It's just something we didn't have, especially last year.
Brunson kicks to Jokic. Now, here's quickly.
But I'd like to give you a little look here at the gameplay just to kind of see how the team's gelling, even if it's just, you know, part of a quarter. Just kind of let it flow, and you can see some things about the sliders. And in this instance, hopefully we're going to see us close down a win, which we haven't seen a lot in the actual stream games here.
It's hard for me to watch this. I mean, the defense practically giving them those shots.
Now, here's Barrett. The pass to Highland.
I don't really want Ryan shooting a whole lot, but he's probably going to have to here.
It's hauled in by the Nuggets.
And it's still a close
So good defense there by Denver.
the fact that they've struggled to compete on the board.
And I know I saw some comments, you know, Beverly being used in the offense a lot. I mean, that's really up to Thibodeau. He hasn't been used too much today. He does play some at the 1, some at the 2.
Sets the screen for Brunson. The 18-footer is right on the mark.
Got beat there. But yeah, I don't see it being overused. I mean, if he was shooting more than RJ Barrett or something like that, obviously it'd be a problem. But
Time call here. The Knicks decide to talk it over. And the Knicks making a change here. Murray's checked in.
so Murray back in the game, of course, against his former team. Gafford, Barrett, Beverly, and Ryan. So it's our starting 5 out.
Back to Barrett.
Pretty cool story about Ryan. I mean, the #1 team in the NBA. He's a 2nd-round pick, and he's starting for us at least right now, because of injuries.
Barrett's got 35.
Get a lot of timeouts here.
Incredible night for Barrett. He scores in a multitude of ways, and he brings the effort on every possession.
So last 2 minutes, 8-point lead.
Quickly against Murray.
Whew, look at the defense there. I love it.
And here's the fast break. Barrett leading the way. Here's Gafford.
Oh my gosh.
Throws it down.
These guys are fun. I like this trade.
Barrett has great at recognition out on the floor.
Definitely liking this trade.
Pass to Jokic.
By the way, a little plug, the poll closed. I had a poll on my Twitter about what streaming series we should add, and actually NFL 2K5 won out. I haven't completely officially made that the choice, but I can tell you it will probably be a football stream of some sort. I'll let you know more a little bit later on, but got a couple games coming out that I'm really intrigued by. Legend Bowl is one of them, Axis Football 2023 or whatever it's technically called. I think it might be kind of fun to do one of those just because people haven't seen those games, right? And Madden's franchise mode's terrible, so... Alright, not the greatest possession there, but 10-point lead. Eating the clock, I guess, is the key there.
You know, guys, I think he's got confidence to shoot it from
Yeah, anyway, that's another reason just to be subscribed there. You can check those videos out, and it's just been a lot of fun. So we'd be doing the exact same thing there. This series will continue on. I'll probably do the football one like on like Saturdays or Sundays or something like that. So, but yeah, I'd be looking for that, and then I plan to do another NBA 2K series as well. Probably, I want to do some sort of an expansion draft. I don't know if we would just do it, say like if the Knicks win the championship or something one of these seasons, if we would then just take an expansion team in this same franchise and like could even draft our own Knicks, that kind of thing. So we're able to start one fresh either way.
You gotta foul him harder than that. This big fella takes pride in finishing through the defense.
Free throw, no good for Jokic. The clock now can just run out for the Knicks.
Sims has had a decent game too, at least early on. His first in the first quarter, he had some nice plays. That's gonna do it. 10 seconds left. Gonna get an 8-point win here on the road against a number 3 team in the East, or in the West, I should say. So it's a good win. Definitely a good win. Last game we watched there, Cleveland, 3rd seed in the East, and we had trouble with them on the road. Or was that game even at home? But either way, that was really kind of almost like a playoff preview, and I said, we need to kind of beef this team up a little bit, like a lot of you had said as well. So far it's looking good. They're 2-0 since that trade. We already looked at the stats, so we don't need to really pour over those again, but RJ Barrett had a huge game. It's a good Knicks team. It's a good Knicks team. Let's get out of here because I want to start seeing us move towards the playoffs. So since that Nuggets game, we have yet to lose still, and we are back to about as healthy as we're going to get this year. So I wanted just to show you kind of quick what the coach is doing, what Thibodeau's doing here with the team. Murray, Beverly, Barrett, Randall slots back in, and then Gafford, of course. So our bench then, Highland, Toppin, Thompson, and Wallace. So our first pick in the draft here, actually filling out the end of the bench with 2 nice options there, Ryan and Jericho Sims rounding out some potential reserves. And then of course we still have Pollard there. And so, yeah, we're looking deep, and I think if we can stay healthy, we're gonna be in really good shape again. We have not lost. I mean, this team is rolling right now. We're 37-8, so one more win, and we will be 30 games over 500. But let's keep going here. I am going to kick up the trade deadline slider on the day before the trade deadline. I will kick that up to 100. That's something I recommend in my slider set, and we'll see if there's any trades that get done here by the other teams. Played one more game. We beat the Warriors, and yet another injury here. This time it's Patrick Beverly, so let's rebuild the rotation. Wallace is going to step in, and he's out for 2 to 4 weeks there, so that's going to move up one of those other guys we saw. It's going to be Ryan, and then again Sims and Pollard on the bench. So bench is getting a little bit lower, but just a lot of injuries this year, and it's funny because we have basically the same coaching staff, and we hardly had any injuries last year, so let's keep going. Goodness, maybe at the trade deadline what we should be looking for is a new trainer, because we weren't expecting this, were we? Daniel Gafford, dislocated right patella, out for the season. So the guy that we traded for to fill in for an injury that was a season-long injury is just himself now out with a season-long injury. This is not good. So let's, and we don't have Hartenstein anymore, right? So this is a problem. This is definitely a problem. Murray, Wallace, who's in for the injured Beverly, Barrett, Randall. Now Sims steps into the starting role, which, I mean, we have enough cushion right now. We still haven't lost, by the way. So I would like to kind of see how this goes, but we're a week away from the trade deadline. So, I mean, we're going to have to do something else at center, right? But what do we have to deal at this point? We don't really have a whole lot we can move around. Ryan, again, it can actually play some center. He's a good rebounder, but he's not a great defender. I mean, Pollard now is almost in the, we don't even, I mean, whoa, we're pretty short bench here. Beverly coming back. I don't know. I don't know if there's like any of those like certain roster rules where we can, go over the cap to sign a guy because of injuries. I guess I can look around at that, but we're in a little bit of a tough spot here. So it is definitely a wrinkle. Definitely a wrinkle. Now, let's just say we wanted to revisit the trade with Okongwu. Oops, and let's just see what the Hawks are going to say here. Yeah, so they have no interest. So again, we're sitting at 16 players on the roster, 2 players in the developmental league, and we don't have a lot of wiggle room, because even when I tried to go in and just see if, could we just go in and sign, say, Pirtle here, is it possible? And right now they're saying, no, we would need to do this. And I know at some point there is an exception that can come in. I don't know if we need one more injury or whatever, but I don't know. And again, I don't know if Pirtle moves the needle. I mean, he gives us some depth, but if we look at the players on the roster who can play center, we still got 4 guys who can, right? Technically, Randall can, Toppin can, Ryan can, and of course, Jericho Sims can. So right now, my gut tells me that we're just going to have to go with it. There's just not a whole lot we can do to really make a move. If we did make a move, it would be for just a bench player that really wouldn't move the needle or anything. And we're just kind of giving up, say, like draft capital or something like that. We really have no maneuverability in regards to the salary cap here. Just kind of showing you that breakdown there. $27 million in the hole, but the luxury tax, there's just no room at all. We're just barely within that threshold there. So, again, we don't have too many big contracts on the books exactly, but again, it just doesn't create a lot of wiggle room here with 2 players making over $30 million that we technically added in those contracts this year. So, can be a problem again, but I still just kind of say, look, we have enough talent on this team. We just move forward, but what a bummer, because we're still paying for those players, of course, right? We're still having to kind of deal with all the bad of adding a Gafford to the team and even Mitchell Robinson's contract, but we get none of the good with it. So it's definitely a challenge. I don't know if it's a coincidence due to just a very small sample size, but since that injury to Gafford, we're 2-2. We beat the Heat, we beat the Pelicans, we lost to Toronto, and now we lost by 22 points to Boston. Or a day before the trade deadline. This is a tough call. We just don't have a ton of options right now. And again, it's just kind of a scary thing. I wanted to see kind of how these games went. Even at 3-1, I wouldn't have been too worried. Seeing that blowout loss by the Celtics scared me a little bit. So gonna definitely need to stop and think here to just how we want to head into this, because this is our last chance potentially to make a move here to just ensure we have some depth. Because again, what if Sims goes down at this point? It could be a little bit tough. So again, just showing what the coaching game plan looks like here. Beverly back now, Sims still starting, and our bench goes up to Wallace. That gives us Ryan and Pollard still. So I don't know. I'm excited that Sims is going to get some developmental time, because he's got a lot of potential. And I still think he can score a little bit. And he's a great rebounder, can still play defense, and he's still got some good potential. So part of me does just want to go with it, but gosh, it is a bit of a gamble, and it's a bit of a scary gamble at that. I guess finally a last-ditch effort here is, just temporarily cutting a player as a test just to see, could we sign Jakob Pirtle? And the answer is no. I mean, if we give him what he wants, they're saying nope. Even if we offered him minimum, he's going to say nope. So to me, there's not really much to discuss here unless I'm just missing something drastically. I don't want to, sell off some big items here. I just don't think we're that desperate, right? I don't think we're not like a 5 seed trying to be a 3 seed. I mean, we are still the number 1 team. We have a good team still, and the playoffs are still a bit of a crapshoot. You just don't know. So again, even doing something like, well, let's move Javon Ball. We don't need him. He's not going to be around for 3 years. This guy's looking really good, and I'm just not desperate enough to make a move like that. So I think we're just kind of left with the only option is just moving forward. So I guess we can, try and get creative here to see if there's something we can put together. To me, I don't want to go thin at point guard, right? I mean, we have 2 guys who can play. Could we get something for Highland that would maybe offset it with like a little bit of a worse backup? Yeah. But I don't even know if this person we're going to get is going to even crack the starting lineup. And so I'm just not looking to make like a massive team altering trade. I mean, our team chemistry is pretty low. We're kind of lucky to be winning as much as we are already. I don't want to do more to impact that. Same thing. We only have 2 shooting guards. We only have 2 small forwards. I want to keep that depth there. Center, of course, we only have 1 guy. And power forward would be the position if we were to make a move. But let's just say even, if I look here at kind of the overall, if we have a 5-point gap here, 5-point gap here. So if we kind of took this middle guy, if we took Obi Toppin and just see what's out there, see if there's a center we can get back. I mean, we're going to get some center offers, but like nothing that makes sense, right? I don't want to move Obi Toppin for Frank Kaminsky. You're just kind of looking at some of these deals that are out there. I'm really only focused on center. So Cody Zeller, again, this doesn't make any sense for us to do that. We're getting 18 different offers, but there's just not really a deal here. Again, if we're just focused on centers, that makes any sense. And there's some, offers here that like, okay, like that we could get, again, creative in regards to like maybe we take a bit of a downgrade at point guard or something like that. And we get back a center, but I don't really want to do that. I like the way this team has been built out. Again, I guess we could explore a Highland option, but the other thing too is if we took like say Rush and Diabate, I guess is how you say his name, are two guys in the developmental league. Is there anything there? I mean, again, Frank Kaminsky, but does that really? It gets us a little bit of depth. I'm really not concerned about depth. I want a guy who can come in and win playoff games, right? I mean, depth, we already have depth. Jericho Sims is our depth. I just don't really want him starting. And to me, I'd rather, instead of having Kaminsky or somebody like that on the team, Cody Zeller, I would rather let Sims develop and just cross our fingers and hope it works out. I don't know. I'm just not seeing any sort of deals here. I guess the last thing we could check would be, if a team wants to get creative with, say, Highland, because he's probably the most likely guy off the bench. I don't want to move any of our starters. Maybe Thompson. I mean, Thompson could also make sense, just because, he's going to always be behind RJ Barrett, and he's a good player. So we could explore some deals for those guys. So again, if we just kind of look at Highland, and again, just looking at centers that would like really move the needle. So I don't care about, I know like, hey, a draft pick, that would be really cool. And even, Derek Lively, boy, that's exciting. That's an upgrade over Sims. But yeah, we're taking a massive point guard regression, and I believe Lively doesn't have that good of a potential. It has only a C+ potential. Like I still like Sims better than Lively, right? So even a trade like that just doesn't make sense. Again, I'm really just scrolling to see center offers. And it's nice to see first round draft picks and stuff like that, but I just don't see a deal that's making sense so far, at least. This one's not bad. I know you're all going to freak out, but again, look what this does to our guard position. We have no backup guards if we do this trade. So, maybe there's something there. Maybe we can reach out to Toronto separately and see. That's not a bad idea. But again, just going off of just the trade finder here, just not seeing it. So I'm going to have to keep exploring around a little bit to see if there's anything else I can find. When I shop Amen Thompson around, it's some similar offers. Again, we have the deal with Toronto popping up there. And Precious might be a player that could be worth exploring, which I will definitely do and see. And just to kind of reiterate, the reason I'm only looking at center is because I am letting the coach do his thing, right? Thibodeau sets this lineup. They're not going to start a power forward over Sims, even if he's rated higher. It's just, it doesn't seem the game really does that, unless maybe it absolutely has to with injuries. So what I'm going to do is just, again, back out and maybe just kind of reach out to Toronto and see if there's anything out there that can work. By the way, if you're curious to see what the team rosters look like and the trades around the league, that's going to be a members only video. So I've talked about that a few times on the stream. Not only will you get priority questions that will be answered and really kind of the upgrade to the official sort of a assistant GM role, but you will have access to some of those private videos if you're curious to see some more around the league, such as the team rosters and, like I said, the trade deadline deals and really all the trades that have happened so far this year. Okay, so when I reach out to Toronto on Precious Achiuwa, there are 4 offers, and I just don't see it being possible, but I want to show you to them anyway. This trade here would leave our backcourt just way too thin. We would have no backup shooting guard. We would only have Flynn as the backup point guard at this point, and I just don't see that making a ton of sense for all the reasons we've already talked about. This trade would, essentially trade all of our shooting guards, and that, again, doesn't make a ton of sense. This one would leave us really thin at the 2 positions we're thinnest at, and get back a point guard that doesn't really offset much for us. And then this trade just is the one we looked at earlier. Just doesn't make sense. Again, trading both of our backup guards, or at least 2 of our 4 guards, and getting back 2 centers who aren't bad players and everything. I mean, I really like Precious Achiuwa, but it's just, this trade just doesn't make sense. It's creating potentially more problems than it's fixing. So we are going to go through and just simulate through the trade deadline. Well, a little bit of good news and a little bit of bad news here for sure. We've been winning some games since the trade deadline. We've lost a couple, but I think most of the ones we've been winning. So, however, of course, RJ Barrett is injured. Very, very bad news. Good news is it's not too bad, and he will be ready for the start of the playoffs. At least it looks like, because we are here in early March. 6 weeks would put us like right at the end of the season. So let's again go in and see what things are going to look like now. Amen Thompson's going to get some much needed, I guess, development time, because he's always sitting behind RJ Barrett, so that's not the worst thing there. And then again, just kind of showing you the bench here. Ryan moves up, and boy, we're thin after that. So still waiting for Barrett to get back, about a month, hopefully a month or so. This is the first injury I remember him having, but gosh, this year has been really, really, really tough with injuries. But let's get through this here. Again, just kind of show you the games since the All-Star break or so, or I guess the trade deadline, which was, where was the trade deadline? Somewhere around here, February 8th or so, or February 15th maybe. Anyway, not too bad. Again, a couple losses there, but still maintaining. We've played 60 games now. We're 48-12, so pretty darn good. Good news here. RJ Barrett came back way earlier than expected, so I'm not sure if the coach is going to put him in. He does. It's a bit risky, honestly, but we're just going to have to go with it. So RJ Barrett's back in the lineup. The season has ended, and we will take a quick look at how it wrapped up for the Knicks. But real quick, MVP of the league this year, Ja Morant from Memphis, of course. Huge game. Again, we already saw one of the better teams there in the Western Conference the last few years, and they definitely continue that here with his guidance and dominance, really. Here are the NBA first team players. Second team All-NBA. Third team All-NBA. All-defensive first team. All-defensive second team. And first team rookies. Second team rookies. So no players at all from the Knicks from what I saw, unless I missed it. But yeah, no players from the Knicks, but still, that's okay. We're in a pretty good spot. Let's take a look and see precisely where we're at. If you want to see more details on just the standings and even some more team stats and things like that, definitely check out the members only videos. You do need to sign up for one of the memberships here on the YouTube channel, but again, you can see some of the details such as the standings around the trade deadline, the kind of the final season standings and things like that. So yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more in the next episode too, but this is what the playoff bracket is looking like. And again, if you do have your questions, send them my way. I'm super, super excited to see these Knicks are in a really, really good place. We are the #1 seed. We're playing my Detroit Pistons in the first round. So this will be a ton of fun there. And again, we'll talk all about that in the next episode. But I'm Mike Lowe. I'm on Twitter at MikeLowe47. Thank you for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thank you for becoming members of the YouTube channel. And thank you again for sure for all of your questions and just support and just positive comments. This has been a ton of fun, and I'm glad we've been keeping this going now. We're going almost a full month here. We've been going through this together. So thanks everybody, and I look forward to the next episode, and I will talk to you then. Interesting little bonus footage at the end of this episode that I just noticed. Look who's back actually in the depth chart at the start of the playoffs. Mitchell Robinson. He has no minutes slotted to him, but he is number 12. He is ahead of the 2 players that we were able to bring up, of course, from the G League here. I don't think that really means he's going to play much, but his injury currently sits at 4 to 6 weeks. I saw RJ Barrett come back after like less than a week of being out 4 to 6 weeks. I have no idea. Our coaching staff does have some, capabilities and some badges that kind of bring players back early. But oh wow, would that be nice to get Mitchell Robinson back.